It's Wednesday morning, and I think most of us are waking up this morning a little emotional. Of course, I ran out of Zoloft yesterday, so I'm probably more emotional than normal, which is probably not exactly helpful on a day like this. Sometimes it's okay just to feel all the feelings. Yes, I drink instant coffee and I like it. So we went to bed last night, or I did, and I was really, had shared something about a dad looking for his daughter. And as I was kind of digging around on Facebook, I saw there were 2 other families who were also missing their children. So the shooting happened at 11:32 in the morning, and last night at 10 p.m., people still didn't know where their kids were. And there's just something, and I said yesterday, you know, this isn't the time to fight or argue, but I do think it's time to have a real conversation. And there are like several things I want to talk about. My subscribers, we're going to be doing sort of a more in-depth conversation where y'all get to share your thoughts too. This page is too big to do that, so I just typically talk and try to pay attention to comments. Yeah, I got up about 5 and wanted to check and see if those kids had been found, and they were found not alive. Good morning, Nicole. And so there's a few things that have kind of come out. I think the biggest thing to me, well, not the biggest, but one of the biggest is, hold on, let me get myself organized. Since I took my 8-year-old with autism's iPad away, now I have it. I want to talk first about a fella named Luis Gonzalez. So Luis Gonzalez is a Border Patrol agent, which is obviously this town is pretty heavy Border Patrol. And yesterday, when the shooting started happening, about 80 Border Patrol agents went to the scene, special tactical unit. This is Luis Gonzalez. I want you to look at him and I want you to remember his name. And Nina, that's a really important point. We don't have to worry about things like this in the UK, and we're going to talk about that. This is Luis Gonzalez, and this is his daughter, Caroline. Yesterday, Luis went to the elementary school. He did not wait for backup. He went in and killed the shooter. He was also hit by shrapnel, but it's going to be okay. Luis Gonzalez is the type of person we want to raise our children to be. He knew his daughter was in that school, Caroline, and he went in right away. He's unable to speak officially, but I saw his wife had shared that post, so I know it was him. And what the anonymous agent said was he rushed into the school without waiting for backup, shot and killed the gunman who was behind a barricade, according to a law enforcement official speaking on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to talk about it. Luis Gonzalez is 33, went through a window, and I know his wife is thankful for him this morning, as are many other families, because he helped children get out of that window that likely would have been murdered. That's just really important. This town in Texas has about 16,000 people. I live in a town of about, I think, 8 to 10,000 if you include county. 75 miles from the border of Mexico. Robb Elementary, residential neighborhood, modest homes, probably really similar to my district, although obviously a heavy Hispanic influence. This is the second deadliest shooting in the history of school shooting our country. 19 children were murdered and 2 adults. And I think we're tired. You know, we're tired of this. one of the cities being inundated with illegal crossings. You know, Patricia, that's not really relevant to me today, obviously. I don't know what that would have to do with anything. That's kind of like saying a woman that was raped was also a go-go dancer. Like, I don't really give a shit, honestly. I think we have to be very careful and cautious of the way we talk and the way it makes people feel. So Julie, one thing that's interesting about Trump is after the Parkland shooting, Trump went and met, President Trump at the time, he went and met about a week after with students from the Parkland shooting. And there's a really interesting, a lovely photo of him holding a note card, and he has, with a Sharpie, has written on it, "What can we do to help you feel safe? I hear you." It's kind of notes for him, right? And that man has proved good people with guns know how to use them. You know, I don't know. You sound a little bit like Ted. Maybe I shouldn't be doing a video because I'm foul, but Ted Cruz said the best way to stop a school shooter are armed resource officers. Well, newsflash, an armed school resource officer has never stopped a shooter. So I can't take stupid shit like that. I just can't. At Parkland, the school resource officer hid outside. So don't give me that stuff. So Trump met at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. This is in 2018. And met with the students. The next week, there was a very interesting interview done where Trump bucked the NRA. He called himself for comprehensive gun legislation. Well, Julie, I missed this happening. This isn't making excuses for him. He warned fellow Republicans that we can't be, he used the word petrified of the powerful gun group, and at one point suggested, again, this is a quote, "Take the guns first, go through due process second. It's time," Trump said, "we've got to stop this nonsense." So Janice, the officer that I'm talking about, that shot the shooter, that was on his family's page. So maybe that's not exactly how it happened, but his name was Louis Gonzalez. He's 33, and he did go in and shoot the gunman. So that's just what that is. Anyway. So what happened? What happened from a president saying that to not saying that? And if y'all start fighting, I promise you, I'm going to ban you. I cannot take it. You can have a conversation that is not about arguing, that is not about political, that is not being an asshole. Todd, we know Trump is going to speak at the NRA in a few days. We're Americans. If you're illiterate, you know that that's going to happen. Yes, he did nothing. I agree, Mary Jane, but we're talking about facts. You all have got to stop for a minute and say, what happened? You know, what is happening? You cannot argue that in other countries, this is not happening. It is not happening. No matter what you want to be the case, it is not happening. It is data and research. So, Carrie, there are mental health problems in other countries. There are mental health problems in other countries, and this is not happening. Now, I do think it's super important to talk about what's going to happen on Sunday. It's very interesting to me. So on Sunday is the NRA's annual conference. I'm going to show you something here. And I'm going to let you see who's speaking on Sunday. So we have, and it's really going to be curious of what what you hear at this conference, because you're going to hear some rhetoric. And I'll tell you who you should not pay much attention to, and if anyone defends him, you're dead to me, is this dumbass right here. Mark Robinson, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor and NRA board member. So Mark Robinson is our lieutenant governor for my state, and he is extremely, I wouldn't even say conservative. He's homophobic. He's, if it's possible to be African American and racist, he is. He is terrible, and he's running for governor in the state of North Carolina, which might take the cake and be worse than Madison Cawthorn. We have Congressman Dan Crenshaw, we have John Cornyn, we have Ted Cruz, Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, Jason Kimlett, Wayne LaPierre, and we have Governor Greg Abbott. Now, what's really curious about Governor Greg Abbott speaking is that Governor Greg Abbott lives in Texas, where this has just happened. And if I had to guess this morning, Governor Greg Abbott has probably shat in his pants and is thinking, WTF, because all of a sudden I'm screwed, right? How am I going to go in and speak to the NRA when I know that the NRA has a strong foothold in Texas? And did the NRA cause this shooting? No. No, it did not. Did this person go and buy 2 guns on their birthday? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Did this person tell children, you're going to die? According to a grandmother of a child that survived, yes, he did. Shot a 10-year-old as she called 911. Somebody sent me an interesting thing, and I'm not one to really talk about abortion much, mainly because I just can't take the stress and the arguing, but they were like, why don't we make getting a gun as hard as getting an abortion? Why don't we make people stop and, do this and that and the other? So the safety plan at this school, they had a safety plan in place, which I think is interesting. It's not like they didn't have a safety plan. Now, Ted Cruz, who is to be speaking on Sunday. Oh, and John Cornyn is no longer speaking, though he's so thankful right now that he said he couldn't do it before the shooting, because now he doesn't have to do that. So Ted Cruz said this. Well, Greg Abbott said this. What happened in Uvalde is a horrible, horrific tragedy that cannot be tolerated in the state of Texas. 4 years later, lawmakers allowed Texans to openly carry firearms rather than having to conceal them, and required public universities to let anyone with the proper license carry concealed weapons in dorms, classrooms, and campus buildings. Ted Cruz said yesterday he was lifting up in prayer the entire Uvalde community during this devastating time. He also told reporters that he does not see gun control measures as effective in preventing crime. Well, this is the same person who during COVID snuck out of his state on vacation. Do you remember that? There are pictures of him at the airport, and then he lied and said, I wanted to fly my wife down to her vacation. Bullshit. Bullshitoli. Bullshit. You are a pussy, and you snuck out of the state while you were trying to make everybody else stay home. And once you lie, you're dead to me. And apologies for the language this morning, but I mean, I've had it. So Ted Cruz now says gun control measures aren't going to help. Really? Well, what have they done in New Zealand or Australia or England? And somebody said earlier, well, you could stab somebody. I'll tell you what you can't do. You can't stab 21 people in a couple minutes. You know why? Because they'll get away from you. somebody on Twitter when Ted Cruz said he doesn't see gun control measures as preventing and effective in preventing crime. The best tweet I saw was, quote, when you're paid not to see the solution, right? So Cruz went on to say, we know what does prevent crime, which is going after felons and fugitives. Okay, well, felons and fugitives have never killed a dozen children in a school. These tend to be young men with no criminal records. So again, you're a dumbass, Ted Cruz. And to go after those with serial mental illness, arresting them, prosecuting them when they try to illegally buy firearms. Holy shitoli, he's a dumbass. This young man bought these firearms legally. And that might be an argument that people are like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? He bought the firearms legally. Yes, he did. He was 18, bought 2 weapons on his birthday. Shitty family life. Shitty. Was living with his grandmother. In one picture, he was in a skirt and a shirt, and another student said he was made fun of for wearing eyeliner. Was he transgender? I have no idea. Clearly, mental illness and bullying are 2 different things, and I think we have to be really clear about that. And we don't know yet what's happening. Yesterday, somebody was like, well, it was a hate crime. And I was like, the shooter was also Hispanic. I think maybe it was a hate crime in the way that this 18-year-old was targeting people who had hurt him when he was a child. You know, I don't know. Obviously, these children did nothing, but maybe in his mind, this was revenge, you know? Cruz went on and said, we know from past experiences, one of the most effective tools for keeping kids safe is armed law enforcement on campus. I just can't imagine being a senator and being this stupid. If there's anything that I have learned from this, it's that all of us should run for office. Clearly. And this is more like a subscriber video because I'm not usually this blatant, because I'm sure I'm going to get all sorts of hate messages, because sometimes when people pay $5 a month, we can have real conversation without people going crazy. But I'm done. So just go with me here for a minute. Just pretend for a minute that it was you looking for your child all yesterday afternoon. Okay? And now, do you think that mom or dad today is going to argue here and say it's not a gun problem, or we need more guns at school? Yeah, we definitely need mental health treatment. I think we're real quick, particularly when it's a white boy shooter, we are like, holy crap, mental illness. And when it's somebody that's black, we're like, it's a criminal. I mean, this is the way it goes. So let's just be honest. So for Ted Cruz to espouse all this shit, like, I'm done. I'm done. And I tell you what, I'm going to be watching this conference on Sunday. What do you think the solution is, Sherry? You know, I think it's multifaceted. I think, why can you go buy a weapon on your 18th birthday, but you can't buy a 6-pack of Budweiser? Honestly, have at the Budweiser. Get some cocaine. Kill yourself. I don't care. But why are we giving someone the ability to hurt other people when I would assume that that is the logic behind the whole alcohol scenario, right? I mean, why don't we let 18-year-olds buy alcohol? It's because we worry they don't have the mental capacity to handle it and they might hurt somebody. You don't have a talking point, says somebody named Dixie. Your voice is full of hate. No, it's not, Dixie. It's not, Dixie. No, it's not. What if my voice was full of hate? Ted Cruz is a dumbass. A dumbass is someone that says things that are wrong and shows them as facts. That's actually in Webster's. So yes, Ted Cruz is a dumbass. It's a fact. It's not a theory. Gun laws don't stop criminals from purchasing guns. They purchase them illegally. Well, Angela, the murderer yesterday purchased the guns legally. He waited till his 18th birthday to buy those guns. So I think in this case, you can say, you know what? He was following the law. He bought the 2 guns on his birthday. Right? There were a lot of people yesterday there, 80 border control agents, 80 border control agents who showed up and tried to help. These are people that I'm sure have guns, believe in guns. So their kids are at the school. I'm really curious to see what their thought is going to be, because I think it's going to be a little bit different this time. This is a different place. I think it's going to be a little different this time. Maybe I'm hopeful. What's the solution? I don't know. I'll tell you what's not the solution. If you have teenagers, you need to go look at their Snapchat, if they have Snapchat, and their Instagram. I saw dozens of posts on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok of children that live in Texas that are making false threats. One of them has a stepfather, who is a police officer. In Dilley, Texas, the chief of police said this: "Community of Dilley, we are aware of the social media post about our school, and we have made contact with the family and the person responsible for the post. We interviewed him, and we do not believe there is any threat to our schools. We will have extra officers guarding our schools as a precaution tomorrow." Now, people go apeshit once this person says this. So after he puts this post up, this child posts a picture of themselves holding a gun on TikTok. Where were the effing parents? Would it not occur to you, once you got a call from the chief of police and you're a police officer, about your child putting up a fake threat, to maybe take their phone? And this is the part where I blame parents, because I do blame parents sometimes. Not entirely, but I blame them. So I'm going to show you this post because I think this is sort of important. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. Now it's going to take me a minute to get it. Let's see here. Recent. Okay. And then we had, and there are several, like over a dozen of, and they're still up. I mean, I could see them myself. And then the superintendent of the school system goes on to say that, hold on just a minute. Let me let you see this post and see what you think. Okay, so there's this question, and my friend, who I hope is going to do a video with me, she's done one in the past. Her name is Amy James. She's really incredible. She's a forensic psychologist. Hold on. You can't see it yet. Hold on. It takes a minute to load. I want you to see this fake post. Oh. But Megan, the last time we had a school shooting, we had the parents who bought the child a gun for Christmas. Okay, so then the superintendent, this is the superintendent, which this is telling that we need Amy James in our schools and we need real training. Family and friends, this is the superintendent of Dilley School District. Earlier today, a social media post was created that threatened a tragic copycat. Thanks to the quick and immediate action of our Dilley Police Department and campus administration, the individual who posted the threat has been identified, and the appropriate legal and school response will take place first thing in the morning. Morning my ass. You do something right now. He goes on to say, Dr. Castro, the threat has been determined to be an incredibly bad joke. And hours after the family allowed the child to continue to use the phone or access TikTok and social media. If you are a family and you have done that, you are also to blame. So this is the post that was on TikTok yesterday. So you have this kind of prayer thing, which is going up, prayers for the community. And then you have the child who wrote all these prayers and shit. I'm fine to do the same. I'm about to do the same thing. You have this. These are the children, 16 of the children that were murdered yesterday. This is the little girl we were looking for last night. His daughter, he was looking for her at the funeral home. You have, let's see, another copycat. She's still up this morning on TikTok. Skybax05. Throw up big C's to support a real G. Free Sal. He's a role model for the rest of us. If this is your daughter, you need to take a real good look at your parenting. Stop yelling. Shut the fuck up. I'm not yelling. Or are you yelling at somebody else yelling? Then you know what? Don't talk. Don't talk. If you don't like this, go away. I'm pizza. I can't make everybody happy. I'm not pizza. We also have, this was when Trump held this. What would you want me to know about your experience? I hear you. What can we do to help you make you feel safe? And I will say again, the day after this, Trump was ready to go after the NRA. And then he had a meeting with them and everything changed. So what happened? Is it Ted Cruz? Is it the money? Is it the you'll never win? Tell these children that it's just mental health problems. Tell these children that this would have happened in New Zealand. Again, this is your child up on TikTok this morning on TikTok. This is Alethea, the little girl whose dad was looking for her last night. She just turned 10 on April 28th. 10 years old. 10 years old. So, maybe my conversation isn't helpful. Yes. He couldn't. No, we don't have to homeschool Carol. That's not even a logical, that's just dumb. That's not even logical. I mean, what do you really think we're just going to undo with public education? Like, that is so stupid. I don't mean that in a mean way, but that's not happening. I don't want to homeschool. Do you have a child with disabilities? Have you ever tried to teach them anything? No, you haven't. Golly, I mean, I just don't say shit like that. I might be annoying, but no. I'm 56 and got ID'd yesterday to buy a can of whipped cream. You know, when I go to the pharmacy to get medicine, I have to show my license. And you can only buy a certain number of medicine, like a certain number of times a year. She was not alive, Nancy. Homeschool and private school. Is private school like private school? No. So I'll tell you a story about private school yesterday. Yesterday, I have a son who goes to boarding school, Episcopal High School in Alexandria, Virginia. And because my son is broke most of the time and he wants to walk to a little shopping center, he goes to McDonald's. Yesterday, there was a fight at McDonald's. On Tuesdays are the nights that my son and his friends, they go to the center. They call it the center of the shopping center. Well, yesterday, a child was murdered at the McDonald's at the shopping center, where my son probably goes every Tuesday. And I got a message this morning, or in the night sometime, from a detective in Alexandria, Virginia, who I wouldn't share their name, and they said, do not let your son go to the center. Very concerned that there's going to be some payback there for this shooting, second shooting this year. This is a block away from my son's private school. So private school is not the answer to this. Like, Laura, you homeschool. But Laura, do you go to the grocery store? How do you avoid somebody coming in with a gun and you're African American and they've written nigger on the gun and they've come in to target and murder you? How do you avoid that? You can't even be black and go shopping? You can't. We have to look at what other countries are doing and the stances they've taken and what has happened. They are not struggling like we are. And we are having a mental health crisis since COVID. A good friend of mine yesterday said, we got problems. And I said, yeah, you're right, because we have shootings have gone through the roof. Drug overdoses, particularly with fentanyl, have gone through the roof. And suicide has gone through the roof. So there is a common denominator there. What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? We have to be aware of that. Does everybody have a safe person? No. No, they don't. Yes, it is an America problem. If you said to me, boy, this is happening in France and Germany and New Zealand and England, then I would be like, you know what? Then why are we talking about gun laws? But it's not. Was the shooting affiliated with the private school? No, it was not, Suzette. No, it was not. It was just nearby. I'm just saying, somebody said, well, you go to private school and you'll be safe. Well, what about if you go to McDonald's and you're just a teenager going to get a cheap, cheeseburger? I think there's this thought that we can keep ourselves safe, but we can't. This morning, when I sent my 3 children to public school, and I was extra nice this morning. I let Amos have 2 donuts. Blair came in my room early. Usually I yell at her to not wake me up early. I was already awake. We talked about what we were going to have for dinner tonight. And I watched them leave, and I said this prayer: keep them safe. Lord, keep them safe. But I can't blame God. It's not like yesterday when those kids got murdered that God just, took a nap. We live in a country, in a world where we have choices, and we can make really bad choices. And we suffer the repercussions from the choices. So how do we encourage people to make better choices? I don't know. We can make it a little harder for them to murder and slaughter 10-year-olds in their classroom. So yeah, I said I wasn't talking about it last night. I'm talking about it today. And on Sunday, I think it's really important that we pay attention. And I tell you what, if you live in North Carolina and you vote for Mark Robinson, just really think about what you're doing. Think. Armed guards at every door. So Pamela, they don't have armed guards at every door in New Zealand, and it doesn't happen. So you can't just look at what you think is going to stop this. Can you have armed guards at every McDonald's, every grocery store, every third grade classroom? Can you imagine how expensive that would be? Have you thought about for a minute that maybe we make it a little bit harder for people to get the weapons? Seems like that would be cheaper. And what's the big deal? Like, what's the big deal? You didn't get to get an assault rifle? I mean, that's not going to kill you. We're not saying no chemo for you. Just like we say, you're not going to buy vodka till you're 21. I'm sorry, but we're done. No vodka for you. We're not like, no, I must have vodka. I need alcohol. It's my right. Shut up. Drink some orange juice. Think. Just think for a minute. Oh, God, Carol. Speaking of mules, I had this teacher, Mr. Sykes, and when people would say dumb shit, he would call them mule head. That might be my new comment. I always say I don't care who you vote for as long as you vote, but I do care if you vote for Mike Robinson. I can't take a black person who is like an extreme racist. I think that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and hates homosexuals. Like, why does anybody hate a homosexual? It doesn't have anything to do with you. If anything, it appears circumspect, like Madison Cawthorn. You sometimes think, are you a homosexual? Trying to pretend you're not, so you're going to be real hateful, so you don't, draw attention to yourself? Well, we're on to you. We're on to you. Alcohol. I mean, all these things that are hard to do. Children in the same classroom. It's not going to be an armed guard. At Parkland, there was an armed guard, and he stood outside and hid. That's not the answer. So, okay, mule heads. I'm going over to the dark side, the page where people have not had lobotomies, my subscriber page, and look forward to talking with y'all. Thank y'all for being here. I think we've got to have these conversations in a big, big way. My granddaughter got her first Spriggle rifle for her 12th birthday. He's a hunter. He teaches kids gun safety. Joanne, I'm sure he is safe, and I'm sure there are people that are safe. But why give a child a gun for their 12th birthday? I mean, we don't give kids a car for their 12th birthday. I think some things we could wait on a minute. We don't give our children social media on their 12th birthday because we know it's dangerous. My 12-year-old doesn't have an Instagram account or TikTok or Snapchat because it's dangerous. Why would I give her a gun? It's not that I think if I gave Blair Snapchat that she's going to make bad decisions with it. What I don't think is that she's going to be trusted. I don't trust what people are going to do around her. Or the 12-year-old has a gun, and what if a friend comes over and gets it? We have got to use good judgment. we've got to use good judgment. Carry on.